Hey everyone, welcome back. You're probably here because you have a SONY AIBO ERS-111 with no ears, or just part of his ear. The reason for this is because the rubber material that was used initially, or originally, perishes and breaks down over time. Unfortunately, I have two dogs like this, and I don't have all the segments that actually go with the ears, because there are actually 3 segments to each ear, as well as the mounting point. So in today's video I'm going to be showing you what I've done, how I've recreated my ears for my Aibos. This is by no means a tutorial, so if you do attempt this you do so at your own risk. Although the risks are very low actually, because removing the ears is actually quite easy. So stay tuned and I'll see you right after this. Okay, so here we are. The first thing we need to do before we can even start thinking about making some new ears is getting off what's left. We need to remove that piece there and take off any rubber that's left and to give it a clean. It comes in 3 parts. You've got the first piece you need to remove as a cap, then there's a little insert, and then the ear part will actually slide off. So to get into this, just here, you just need to use a fingernail really, and just kind of drag it out, and there we go. It's as simple as that. Just a couple of clips on that when it goes back in. Obviously just take note of its orientation. It actually is level like that. And then with a pair of tweezers we'll take out that inner piece. There we go. And then we can just pull this part off. And behind this you can see there's a small microphone there. There's one on each ear, and that's for the remote control. That's what AIBO uses to listen. So let's have a closer look at what's on this. So as you can see there is some remainders of the original rubber type material on there. So we're going to be removing all of that now, and it's going to be quite sticky and gungy. It's not very nice. It's broken down basically. It's deteriorated with age. And I've not seen one AIBO out there actually that still has the original ears. Quite satisfying to get off. Quite a messy thing to do, unfortunately, but it needs to be done. Okay, I've got a bit of IPA here to get rid of the rest of what's left inside that earlug. And it looks like there's actually some on the inside of this as well, on that inner ring. Yeah, there is. May as well get rid of it all while we're here. Okay, now that the mounting point is all nice and clean, it's time to move on to making the ears themselves. I had no dimensions for this. I looked and studied lots of pictures on the internet and in books that I have, and I kind of experimented a bit with different pieces of card and placing them on the actual AIBO itself to see what looked best. Because I didn't have the original segments, it's made this task a little bit harder, but the dimensions I ended up with were 8 cm in length at its longest point and 4 cm wide at its widest point. If anybody has the original ears, please let us know in the comments the actual dimensions. It would be interesting to see just how close I got. Looking at images of the original ears, I came to realise that the ears need to be flexible to allow for all of his movements, and obviously not too heavy. I looked at different materials to use as a backing. The first thing that sprung to mind was rubber, maybe an old inner tube. But then I thought, no, this is going to add a bit too much weight. And then I thought, how about felt? So I've gone with that. I happen to have a piece of scrap plastic, sheet plastic, which is 1.5mm thick. And this is what I was going to use to create the segments. So once I had them drawn on some plastic, it was time to cut them out. I used a sharp pair of scissors to do this, and then I sandwiched them all together. I filed them down so they'd all be the same shape and size. Then I had to cut them into 3 segments. There is a slight curve to each of these segments. I used a very large circular item to give me a bit of a guide there. Then it was time to sand the edges down to make them look a bit more rounded, and I also wanted to slightly shape the top segments to match with the mounting points, because there was a slight slope on the edges. Now that I had them sanded down into the shape I wanted, it was time to paint them. After cleaning them up to remove any loose material and give them a good once over with some finer sandpaper, I had a look through my paint stash, and luckily I had some black gloss and some silver paint, because I have 2 Aibos to do here. I have both models that are available in black and silver. Unfortunately, my silver paint was splurting out. It wasn't coming out very smoothly and fine. And also temperature is a big factor here as well when using aerosol paints. The warmer the weather, the better. The more moisture in the air, the duller the finish will be if you're using gloss. So I let these dry for 24 hours to make sure they were cured, and I'm quite pleased with the results. I think they turned out quite well. And the colour match is actually quite close to the original Aibos. Okay, now's the time to mount the plastics to the felt. I was getting quite nervous about this actually, because I've not got a very steady hand and I needed to get these segments spaced out evenly, so there was an even gap between each one. First off, I thought I would use some contact spray adhesive, which would be perfect for this, but unfortunately the can I had gone off slightly and there wasn't much coming out of it, so I had to scrap that and move on to something else, and all I had was super glue, so I should be going with that. I did my first one after mounting it to some felt, but I wasn't happy with it. One of the segments, the gap was too big and it just didn't look quite right, so I scrapped that and started again. So next up will be my second attempt. The first thing to do is to make a hole for the log to go into. Now this doesn't want to be exactly the same size as the original log, because the felt will slightly stretch, and as time goes on the hole may get bigger with the weight of the ear and the movements. So then I super glued this in place, and then I added the rest of the segments one at a time, carefully aligning them, because obviously once that glue makes contact you don't really have any time to move it because it goes off pretty instantly. After letting the glue go off for a few minutes, time to have a quick inspection. I think they look okay, and the next up was time to cut them out with some scissors. So I carefully went around the edge using the segments as a template to get the cut that I wanted. And there you go, my first completed AIBO ear for the ERS-111. And now it's time to repeat that process again 3 more times, because obviously I have my silver dog to do as well. And there you go, it's done. They look so much better, don't they, with their ears? It's remarkable actually how different they look. I've had these Aibos a couple of years now, and I've always thought to myself it would look better if I had the original ears. Some people out there do actually 3D print them, but that can be quite expensive in itself, and I don't have a 3D printer. Well, I hope you found that useful. Like I said, this is not a tutorial, just showing you how I did things. You may have a better way of doing this. You may have already looked at this and thought, I could probably do this better. It's a shame you can't leave photo comments on YouTube to see what other people have done, which I'd love to see what other people do in the future. Well, I guess that just leaves me to say, as always, thanks for watching, and until the next video, I'll be seeing you. And if you did enjoy watching this video, you may want to take a look at some of my other videos on similar themes. I'm always buying something on eBay, some more piece of technology, and trying to repair it. And as always, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Thanks for watching.